All right, this is a continuation of the direct and inverse variation type problems. So we want to basically look at these particular problems, and in order to really get down to the nitty-gritty, we want to actually look at the graph of what they look like. Okay, we talked about the graph in the last video. We said a direct variation equation was y equals kx, but the graph of that equation actually looked like this. Let me change a little colors here. So it looked like that, okay? Then we said that an inverse variation equation, okay, was y is equal to k over x, and then that graph actually looks like this. Okay, it looks like that. So what happens is I'm going to look at these two graphs and try to identify what happens to the value of y. Okay? So if y varies directly, well, guess what? I'm using this graph because it's a direct graph. If it varies directly as x, okay, and then the value of x decreases, so that means x is going down, what happens to the value of y? Well, with direct equation, whatever x does, y is going to do because of the constant of variation. So if x increases, so for instance, if the constant of variation is 2, and I'm multiplying it by 2, then that y would be 4. And if I increase the 2 to become a 6, that means y would be 12. You see, it's getting bigger. Plus, if we look at the graph, we can look at this as well. If x decreases, that means x is going down. So x starts high here, and it's going down to the left. So what happens to my line? It's coming down as well. So if x decreases, y decreases. Whatever x does, y does in a direct variation equation. For number 7, I'm going to skip 6. You're going to be doing 6 yourself. Number 7, if y varies inversely, so again, now I'm going to use my inverse equation. And then the value of x increases. So where does x increase? It starts off small in the middle at the origin, and then it goes bigger this way. Well, if I look at the line, x goes bigger that way, but then y starts really high and then gets really low. So what happens to the value of y? Y decreases. So you can see the difference. So these were the same for direct, but they are now different for an inverse. Okay, so work on 6 and 8, pause the video, and then I'll go over the answers. Number 6, direct variation equation. If x increases, we said they're the same, so then y increases as well. And then for number 8, it's an inverse. So if x decreases, that means y increases, because we said they're opposites. Here are the next particular problems I want to discuss. And these specific problems, they look a little different, but what I want to do is I want to write the equation in words or write the equation from words. Again, the combined variation. Remember we talked about the word joint variation. Joint variation, okay, so joint variation is another type of variation that basically means the same as direct, but there are more than one variable. So on this particular problem, if I look at it, the D and the F there, there's more than one term. There's two of them. There's D and the F. So I'm going to now write this whole equation, okay, in words. So here's how I do it. I'm going to take the letter H. It varies. Remember, equal sign kind of acts as a varies. And because the 3, the D, and the F are all together, what does it vary? It varies jointly with D and F. Some of you might be thinking, why am I not writing my 3? 3 is the constant of variation. In the word problem, I don't put K, I don't put the number. It's understood that it's there. So in this case, 3 is there, so we don't need to write it. So H varies jointly with D and F, and what? Well, now I have a dividing sign there. So and inversely, remember inversely is dividing, and inversely with what? With m squared. Or you can write it a little differently, and I'll show you how. Either m squared or the square of m. Square of m, there we go. Okay, that's another way to write it. Either way is fine, I'm okay with that. Okay, so for the next one, write the function that models the relationship. So I want to write the equation. I want to go backwards than what I just did. I have the words already. I want to go backwards and try to figure it out in the equation. So J varies directly equals with the B. So directly, I know is multiplication. Well, I don't have a K, but I need to put the K in there. You have to write it. Okay, there is a constant. The constant is K. We don't know what the value is. That's why it's in there. And inversely. Inversely means divide. G and X, so G times X.